Hi, everyone. Welcome to town meeting. I'm Kelly Green. I am the moderator, town meeting moderator. I'm pleased to be here. I'm pleased that so many of you are here. We have our town clerk and treasurer is here on the stage with me, Tammy Munyon. Tammy, wave. And we also have Rose Lucenti, who is serving as a justice of the peace today. I have a few announcements before we get started today. First of all, we have childcare available if anyone needs it. Would Christine Settles please stand up? And Brooke Martinez? She's upstairs with toddlers now. So here's Christine back here. If everyone can turn around, and Christine, give a good wave. Christine, yeah. And so kids are welcome at town meeting. They can run around. I don't care. You know, I don't care. It's great. If parents need a break, Christine can take your kids upstairs to the Esther Mesh room for you, where we have games and snacks and so forth. And they can take breaks upstairs. I also want to thank Christine and Brooke for organizing coffee hour this year. Let's have a round of applause. So keep your eyes open for next year, because maybe they'll do that again. Okay, I have another announcement before we get started. I have a couple of microphone announcements too, but first I'd like to recognize Larry Sakowitz. We have 2 select board members who have finished their term. Molly Mullins is stepping down, she's finishing her term, and Trini Broussard. I'd like to recognize Larry Sakowitz. And Larry, you're gonna have to use a microphone.
A little quicker, Larry. You got to demonstrate how we're going to do this all day today.
I'll try. Good morning, everybody. I'm Larry Sakowitz, Vice Chair of the Randolph Selectboard. And I'm here to present a Vermont Public Service Award to Trini Broussard in recognition of her 14 years plus on the Randolph Selectboard, most of that as chair of the board. This is an award that comes from the Vermont Secretary of State, Sarah Complin-Hansis, awarded on Wednesday, February 25th, 2026. And so I'd just like to take a moment to recognize Trini's service. Unfortunately, she can't be here today because she is characteristically helping out a neighbor who needed her attention more than we needed her here at this meeting. It's a pretty big deal. I would like it if everybody could please, even though she's not here, help me recognize her service and appreciate her. Thanks, folks. And accepting the award on her behalf will be our town clerk.
Thank you so much. 14 years is a long time to serve in that role. Okay, so at town meeting, just a couple more housekeeping items before we get started. At town meeting, in order to speak, you have to be recognized by me. And you can do that by raising your hand. I am constantly scanning the crowd, so I will get to everyone, right? We want everyone who wants to speak to have an opportunity. You must, before you speak, each time, state your name. Even if I've known you for 30 years, Tammy might know you. Also, I can't see faces very well from where I'm standing. And we're making a record. This is a public meeting, and we want to record your thoughts in the minutes for all time. So please state your name. And I will abruptly interrupt people who don't state their name, and I apologize in advance. You must use a microphone to speak. And there are only a few of you here who can just yell. And there are a few who can just yell. And you know who you are. But we really want to hear you. And unfortunately, we no longer have access to portable mics. So I'm going to ask you to use these two mics here in the middle. Kristen Chandler, hey Kristen. Hello. And Kristen Gage are so awesome. They're going to help you if you are not speaking loudly enough or you need help adjusting the mic. They'll jump up and help you. They're not going to let you flounder. And Forrest McGregor is going to help me because he's sitting there, can see me. So it's something of a nuisance. It makes things take longer. So keep that in mind also. Direct your comments at me. The Roberts rules apply. Speakers get 10 minutes to speak on each article. That's a really long time. Nobody ever accomplishes that, even when they try. You can speak twice on any article, but we give everybody a chance to speak first before you get to speak a second time. Registered voters only may speak. The way we enforce that is if you recognize someone who is not registered to please object. And that's a state law. We can give a non-registered voter permission to speak, and we often do, but we just need to know what's what. So with that, I would like to call the meeting to order and ask you to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, town meeting is governed by the town warning. There are copies in the hallway, right outside the hallway, and the warning begins on page 2.
There are also copies in the back of the hall here. You don't have to go all the way out to the hallway.
Thank you. I'm going to give you just a quick overview of the warning. Articles 1 through 24 are being voted on by Australian ballot on Tuesday, March 3rd, at Town Hall from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So we'll be able to discuss these articles, but we won't take any action from the floor on them. And we will discuss them sort of in groups. Articles 25 through 27 are public questions that we discuss and can vote about from the floor. You don't have to. This meeting is the people's meeting. The Select Board has put these items on the warning, but you are not required to take them up. But you can, if you want. So let's get started. Article 1 pertains to an election happening, again, on March 3rd. You can read about the seats that are open and their term here. This does not list the slate of electors. You can also vote early, by the way. You can go to the town hall and vote early if you're busy Tuesday. All right, we're going to move on to Articles 2 through 4. Articles 2 through 4 relate to the general fund operations, budget, and taxation. And I'm going to pause to just let anybody who has a question or comment stand up and
Hello, I was made aware.
Tell us your name.
Oh, yes, Sarah Longchamp. I was made aware through Front Porch Forum that that the library has reported that the printed error is a budget and that the printed budget is an error, and they would appreciate it if we all voted it down.
Thank you, Ms. Longchamp.
Hi there, Dustin Adams. I just want to go along with what Sarah there said and urge everyone in this room to please vote down the library budget if you love the library. This isn't an indictment on the library. This just gives the select board time to remedy the error, as well as the town manager, who I believe already has the numbers that should be on the warning for this year. So it shouldn't be an undue burden on anyone here. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, I see a hand.
My name is Emery Matthias. I would like to ask a question for the moderator, just to clarify to everyone here that we do not have the ability as a group to do any budgetary matters on the library. We could not take a vote for the $10,000 shortfall and say, yes, we want to fix the mistake that no one's capable of admitting there was a mistake made. Can we as a group act upon that in any way today?
No, we cannot act upon that today because, and I actually, Tammy helped me with a little bit of research. So in 1991, the town voted to move budget and monetary questions to Australian ballot voting. So we vote on budget matters through Australian ballot voting only. You can vote from the floor on warned articles that are public issues, but that's not this.
Understood. Thank you.
I see a hand here.
Good morning, John Kaplan. I'm wondering if there's someone from the library who can explain the impact of not voting the budget down. In other words, if the library budget is voted in as written in the warning, what would the impact of that be? I have some sense of that because I've been trying to read up on this, but I am not 100% clear on that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kaplan. So I see the library director here, and I'll give her a second to speak in a second. I can answer part of that, which is that if the library budget is voted down, the select board can hold a special meeting, which is a second vote on a corrected or different budget. But I think your question is really, what is the effect of voting the budget up on the library?
I'm Amy Grasmick. I'm the director of Kimball Library. Is that better?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Thank you. So to take a step back, The library trustees in November, when they developed the library's budget, took a serious look at wage compression and wage stagnation for library employees. This is something that had not been done in a systematic way in the time that I've been at the library, which is now 24 years. And the proposal that they sent to the select board included significant increases in wages for all of the library staff. Part of the way the library board wanted to offset the shock to the taxpayers was to double the amount of fundraising they plan to do, from $25,000 for next fiscal year to $50,000. So this would, as I said, help ease the burden on the town's taxpayers while still accomplishing the goal of providing appropriate pay to library staff. The budget that you see in the town report retains that $50,000 pledge from the library board, while not including the wages that they had approved. Rather, the wages that you see in the town report include a 3.25% wage increase for me and an insufficient increase in wages for the other library staff. To simplify things, the 3.25% increase you see for library assistants uses a staffing model that we no longer have. So that budget line is underfunded by $10,000. So if the budget is voted in, as you see in the town report, there's going to be multiple effects. During the next fiscal year, starting in July, the library board is going to have to make decisions about how to manage the underfunding of staff wages, which could mean cuts in service. I know the library board and I personally want to avoid that because we know how heavily the library is used. And over the years, the demands and requests for the services that we provide have just increased. The other impact of retaining a $50,000 commitment from the library board through fundraising is, in fiscal year 28, the underfunding of wages is going to have to be corrected. And because fundraising $50,000 a year for our operating expenses is not sustainable, the contribution the library trustees will not be as high, which will mean a shock that we were trying to avoid to the taxpayers in fiscal year 28 to make up those shortfalls. Did I hit 10 minutes?
You're nowhere near 10 minutes, believe it or not. You're at 3.5.
3.5. Is it appropriate for me to stay available to answer questions, or shall I sit back down?
Well, you could. I would say sit down, and if there's lots of questions, we can deal with that. That's what I meant to say. And I see a hand in the back, but I can't see who that is. Oh, it's Joyce. Okay. Thanks.
Joyce Mizuko. So with this budget shortfall, is it possible, if, given the late nature of this information coming out and made available to the public, that there is this shortfall in the budget, and in likelihood that there have been a number of people who have already voted without ever knowing this information, is it possible that, should the budget get passed as is, for a petition to be circulated to address the shortfall and requesting that the Select Board hold a special meeting to adjust for that shortfall?
Thank you. So the short answer is that can happen, but I do not know, as I'm standing here, if it comports with state law. But typically, the Select Board can warn a new, so any budget that fails, there is an option to go back and correct it with a special meeting, and I suspect that a budget that passes can also be revisited. But I do not know. I saw a hand here.
George Daniel, Randolph Center. I wasn't going to say anything on this because to me it was just a matter of semantics as far as this funding and stuff. But now that we're here talking about this thing, why did this even come about we're going to get this extra money and stuff because of the cost of living, whatever you want to call it, and the pay hasn't gone up? Because what I'm trying to find out right now is this library directory. If you hadn't got the money, would you guys have all quit? And the answer is no, you probably wouldn't have, because I worked for years not getting pay increases and stuff. So I just want to put out there, it's already in the system and stuff, but now just worried about the semantics about, oh, next year it's going to be a shock or this and that. To me, this is a null and void point to me. It's just an academic exercise in this. So I just want to put out there that I've heard enough of this stuff. Just move on and be done with it.
I see a hand right here.
My name is Michael Penrod. I noticed that there is at least one Select Board member and the town manager here. I would appreciate it if one or both of them would get up and explain not what the problem is, because that's at this point in time kind of irrelevant, what they are going to do about it.
So in the interest of time, I would invite one speaker on that question, if someone would like to speak to that question.
This is a little bit of, oh yes, thank you. Stephanie Tyler, Secretary and Clerk of our Select Board. Speak up? Okay, sorry, I feel like I'm yelling. So it's up to you guys at this point what happens. So it's up to the voters, and at this point it's warned, and so whatever everyone decides to do, then we take action afterwards. So, so there's not much else that we can really put out there, I don't think. So thank you.
I see a hand right here.
So, technical adjustment here. So my name
Tell
is
us your name.
Yeah. My name is Robin Goodall, and I am currently on the trustees, Board of Trustees for the library. I'm coming into the sunset after 10 years of doing this. It is important, I think, to remember that the warned budget that you see is rooted in an error. It's not rooted in an ask about salary increases or anything like that. The staffing numbers were wrong. And because the staffing numbers were wrong, they were based on part-time staff, it ripples down into retirement and all of the benefit things. That error is what resulted in the $10,000 shortfall before you even get to talk about salary increases. I think it's just a really important nugget for folks to hold on to. The trustees are not making recommendations one way or the other than the fact that we want the Randolph voters to be informed. We want you to have the truth. We know that you have, over many, many years, been very supportive of the library, and that as you think about the library and the current situation, that you will continue to be supportive of the library. Thank you.
Thank you. I saw Mr. Sakowitz's hand. I will get to everybody.
Larry Satkowitz, Randolph Select Board. I would just point out that I would like to respond to that question of what will the Select Board do about this, which is a really good question. And the short answer is that we are going to have an election on Tuesday that will seat a new Select Board. And so that is the board that will be answering that question once we have a new board, because the Select Board, the current Select Board, which is only in place until Tuesday, can't address this matter now. But the Select Board will have the ability to address it once we have a new board, and it'll be up to that board to decide what the appropriate course of action is.
Thank you. I saw a hand here.
Hi, Joe Vosi, Randolph Center. The question I have is that it may not be a shock this year.
Yeah, Mr. Voci, if you could speak up a little bit.
It may not be a shock this year, and the board is graciously putting in $50,000 versus $25,000 to cover that. But then after that, is there a shock the following year on that budget? So it's not just this year we're talking about, because the salaries don't revert back the next year to where they were. So that's more of a question I have in mind. And another question I do have, and maybe the board or Amy can tell us, is this a public library or is it a private library? Is it a municipal library or is it a private library? Thank you.
Hang on one second. I want to make sure if anyone else has had an opportunity to speak before we take second-time speakers. Great. Come on up.
Hi there. My name's Sultana Khan. I live in Randolph Center. I just wanted to make a comment about, I think this will have information that'll support the rest of the conversation. It's not about the library, but it is about what's happening in Vermont right now. It's a little bit about what the extensive labor shortage looks like in Vermont, because I think that'll be relevant to how we're talking about the increase in salaries, increase in benefits, et cetera, for all town positions. One thing that's really important to know is that nearly 70% of community and social service workers are women. The reason that that's important is because the three systems right now that are currently collapsing around us, healthcare, education, and service supports, mean that less women will be able to be in the workforce. That's particularly significant in Vermont, where we have an aging population without a population to replace it. So as the labor shortage continues and gets worse, which it will, if we are not able to have immigration into Vermont, that means that the current positions that are available, it will be more important than ever that we are able to retain people, because we will not be able to recruit people. So as we're talking about the change in benefits, the things that are so important to retain workers in Vermont, and particularly in municipal positions, we have to be thinking about what that extended that labor shortage will look like in the next 5 years. What's also important to know is that 75% of healthcare professionals and nearly 75% of personal care occupational workers are also women. More than 72% of educators are women. So the three systems that are collapsing around us right now are staffed by women, but they're also the most important aspects of our lives for caregivers. And since most caregivers are women, we're going to continue to lose women in the workforce. We cannot afford that. We particularly cannot afford that in municipal positions. So although these numbers sound like they are very high or that benefits are raising in ways that we can't afford, what is actually true is that we cannot afford not to raise benefits because we won't be able to recruit new people. So just a little bit more about that. 60% of people in service occupations are also women, and just for fair measure, 77% of all social and human service workers are also women. What is really astonishing about this is that 71% of all social and human service workers plan to leave in the next year. 60% of all healthcare workers plan to leave in the next year. 64% of all administrative workers plan to leave in the next year. These are all statistics from the Bureau of Labor. They're not made up. There are also statistics from unions, et cetera. So what we're seeing is that retention is one of the key ways that Vermont will be able to maintain, not grow, not expand, just maintain the current services that we have. The likelihood that we will have to contract services is high because workplaces were not made for caregivers, and caregivers cannot afford to subsidize the municipal positions and positions that are chosen for us by continuing to work for lower rates, which is what has been happening and why women are leaving the workforce. Thanks.
Thank you. I have a hand back here. Yep, thank you.
Thank you. I'm Josie Carruthers, East Randolph. Quickie, when Sultana mentioned contracting, you probably all know, but I just wanted to remind you that when you contract something out, you're paying an agency, you're paying a middleman, you're paying, whatever. You're not contracting generally with the worker himself or herself. You're paying some organizational middle person to do it. And that means, A, the contractee is not earning what they would if independently contracting, and B, they lack the commitment. So I wanted to reinforce Sultana's point because I think it's really important. If we all know what happens with contract labor, things deteriorate. Thank you.
First time, I'm sorry, that was Josie Carruthers. First time speakers, people who have not spoken yet on this subject.
Hello, my name is Ben Rapson. I live here in Randolph, and I want to take this opportunity to share my endorsement of two select board members who are very important to this issue. That is Emery and Dustin. The reason they're important to this issue is that they listen and they care and they research. They hear all sides, they'll talk with anyone, and they are here for hard conversations about wonky things that not everyone cares about, but that matter a great deal to a great many people. I think that the library issue at hand is a great example of how, when we come together as a town, we're not just concerned with our own pockets. We're not just concerned with our own front yards. We are trying to empathize with the effects on other people. I think that this budget should be voted down because it's a chance for the people, whether it's the select board or any of us who decide to civically engage, to make it better. The fact is, the library is not overfunded. The librarians are not overpaid. There are not too many librarians. There are not too many books. And in fact, if the library was more supported and more used by people of all ages in this town, its programs attended in full, its people supported in their livelihoods, if it were celebrated and embraced a little bit by every single person in town, we might all, right now, have the right information in order to make a very knowledgeable vote. So if you're frustrated because maybe you want to move on from this, maybe spend more time at the library. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to open the floor to people who have already spoken on this issue because I don't see any first-time speakers. Right here. We'll get to everyone.
Hi, it's Robin Goodall again. I just wanted to address the question that Joe posed about whether this is a municipal library or a private library. It is a municipal library. One of the things which means that the trustees are elected by the town the same way the select board is elected by the town. And so there are positions that you will be voting on Tuesday to replace me. So that there will be kind of a new board of trustees as well, but it is a municipal library. It's owned, you own it as voters.
Thank you. I see Ms. Tyler here has her hand up. Ms. Goodall, thank you for serving as a trustee.
Hi again, Stephanie Tyler. I was just going to actually clarify the municipality part of it too. And so whether the budget gets voted in or not, those numbers are the numbers that the Library Board of Trustees are entrusted with. And so I forget the exact numbers, but that money would be handed over and they can actually use that money in any way they see fit. So the budget that you see there is a proposed idea of what they would like to use that money for, but it can be used differently at their discretion. So I hope that makes sense. And then also, we do have a pay and benefits, study coming out. So we're going to be doing that as a select board and town to kind of evaluate all of the pay of everybody, all of our employees. So we are gathering that information and taking a hard look at how we are compensating everyone that works for the town. So thank you.
Thank you. I saw a hand here.
Tamara Morgan, East Randolph. There we go. I would just like to point out that the library budget as printed in the town report is an error. And it was chosen not to rectify this error by the select board. I was at the meeting. They could have rectified it. They did not. So this budget is not quite the budget that the library proposed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sarah Longchamp, again, I would just like to point out that whether you have concerns about the library budget or you want to support the library, if you have concerns about the library budget, please vote it down so we can reconsider it. If you don't have concerns about the library budget, please vote it down because it's an error. I think we can all get behind this, no matter how we feel about the library budget.
Thank you.
I'm fairly smart about this. George Daniel again. It seems now that you probably are going to vote it down. So if it does go to that point, I would like the people from the library to come there with their ammunition and stuff, because after thinking about this more and more, one, I thought the schools in this area each had a library. So at what point is it a redundancy? The other thing is, I'm up in Randolph Center. I can avail myself of a state college library. And then I'd like to actually know how many people actually partake in this library, the throughput that you have there. So at the end of the day, you can sit there and go, we had 1,000 people come in there, divided into this, and this is how much each person got. So that's all I'm saying is if we're going to go this route, then everybody needs to come back with some ammo.
I do see hands up, and I will get to you.
Is that me?
Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Jessamine West. I've been working at the library since 2005. The information on our throughput and our ammunition at the library is actually printed in the town report. So you're welcome to go look at it. I am standing up here in this weird kind of Norman Rockwell way because I'm maybe that guy, you know, for the 4 freedoms. He's standing up in town report, now everybody, town meeting, and everybody uses it as a meme to be like, I'm speaking truth to power or whatever, but really he was speaking against the school budget because all of his cows had died recently and he was struggling and he wasn't sure what he was going to do. And so even though Arlington, Vermont needed a new school, he was the one that said, I have to speak against it because I don't know what my job is gonna be, right? And I think we understand in Randolph that there are a lot of people in semi-desperate situations and some people who are doing good enough and a couple people who are maybe doing okay. All of those people get served at the public library, and we serve people in the summertime, and we serve people on the weekend. And as I was walking to town meeting today, I, who work at the library, helped 2 people with their computer problems before I sat down. Vermont computing doesn't exist anymore. People have a really hard time sometimes figuring some of this stuff out. They need a trained professional. They need somebody who's non-judgmental. They need somebody who understands diversity and inclusion so that we serve everyone, every single person, with our gender-neutral restrooms and our massive collection of comic books and our food shelf that is open 24/7, even when the wonderful Randolph area food shelf is closed. I would urge people to support the library by not supporting this budget, and I appreciate having been able to serve this town this entire time. Thank you.
I'm looking for hands. Raise your hand high if you want to speak, and especially if you have not done so yet. All right, with that, go ahead.
Emery Matthias again. Thank you. I just wanted to ask everyone here, and if there is a way, or should we consider making it unambiguous to the select board what we're going to be doing here. How do we make it clear that if we vote down the library budget, we're voting it down to increase the budget, not decrease the budget? I think it would be a service to the select board and to us all to make it easier for them, easier for us, and make it clear that when we vote this down, if we vote this down, it's not so that they come back with a $200,000 budget instead of an extra $10,000 to get us to where we were not where we're supposed to be, but just not regressing. If we could potentially maybe do a straw poll here, I know we didn't like that last year, but it could be beneficial to whoever's on the select board in a few days as to what we're requesting.
Another way to make your voice heard is to attend select board meetings and use public comment. Are you making a motion to have a straw poll?
Yes.
It's okay. And actually, what I'm going to do in the interest of time is if there is no objection from any person, we will just have a straw poll. All right, there's no objection.
The poll being, do we support the library?
I think what you want the straw poll to be is this. Let me say
Please.
it. Is if the voters vote the library budget down, shall the select board understand that the people who attended town meeting wanted them to consider an increase and not a decrease?
So moved.
All right. Are you ready for the question? This is going to be a speaking vote. Wow. Can I remember what I just said? This is a straw vote. It doesn't hold any weight. But shall the people here at town meeting today let it be known to the incoming select board that if the library budget fails, that the people at town meeting want the new select board to consider an increase in the budget and not a decrease? Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Hold up. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. No. Thank you. The ayes have it. Thank you for the straw poll. I see a hand up here. We have a speaker. Come on up to a microphone, even though you're going to have to climb over people and all kinds of crazy maneuvers. I don't want you to yell. It's the people's meeting, and when they want to do a straw poll, you got to do a straw poll.
Is there an...
Tell us your name.
Mimi Burstein, Randolph. Is there an abstain in a vote, a straw poll, or is it just yay or nay?
It was just yay or nay.
Okay.
Thank you for that, though. A voice vote is hard because it's hard to abstain. We have another speaker.
Joe Vosi, Randolph Center.
Speak up. We want to hear
Joe
you.
Vosi, Randolph Center.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion that we move on to the next article and end this one. Thank you.
Instead of that, I'm going to try to use unanimous consent because it can be faster. If there is no objection, we will move on to the next section. All right, we're going to move on to the next section. The next section, Article 5, is regarding the police district. I'm not going to read it to you. I will open the floor for comments. I see a hand up.
John Kaplan. Trying to keep a comment brief about the police district.
I'm timing you.
It'll be less than 10 minutes. I just wanted to say about the police that we have this holdover from when the town and village of Randolph merged in the 80s of a police department that is paid for by approximately 1/3 of the town's grand list, AKA the police district properties. And I've been bringing this up for 4 years now, since we got out of the contract with Orange County Sheriffs when that kind of imploded and went back to having our own town police department, that this model of payment, where we still have police service that serves the whole town, being paid for primarily by a subset of the taxpayers, is inequitable and doesn't make any sense anymore. And the select board has it in their power to put the police budget into the general fund along with all of the other town services and have everyone pay for it, which is what I believe should be the model. Yeah, that is essentially my point. There's a lot of other details about the level of service, et cetera. And this is an issue that the select board has kicked the can down the road for 4 years now. Last year, when we brought this up, or when I brought this up, I was told at a select board meeting, maybe we'll get to this next year. And here we are a year later, and nothing has changed. So I hope that the new select board takes this up as a priority next year, starting right in March. And I would urge everyone who is a voter in the police district to send the board a message that this is important and vote the police budget down. Thank you.
Thank you. I see a hand up.
I'm going to not climb over these people. I think I can project loud enough. Say your name, Harvey. Say your name.
Yep, you should come use the microphone, and it's just because we all want to be able to hear you. Thank you. It's a drag. I'm sorry.
Harvey Porter.
Tell us your name.
Harvey Porter. I live here in the district. John mentions we've been dealing with this issue for 4 years. I would like to add at least another 20 to that, because I stood up probably 24 years ago, and when we were talking about this issue and talking about community and what it means to be a community and what services a community provides. We provide schools for everyone, whether they have children or not, because it's part of being a community. We provide care to get roads cleared off to the highest hilltop house in the rural areas. And we provide that as a community because the farmer who lives up at the end of that road needs to get his milk to market. And we say that's part of being a community, that we will provide that service to keep their road open so they can get back and forth. So there's a lot of things I could go on to list that are community things. And the police department, just like the fire department, should be a community expense. And I was curious. I said, Brandon, Vermont, over the mountain, is kind of about the same size as Randolph. They're actually a little bit smaller community in terms of population. But
They have a police department there. I think our budget's 8,000 something. Theirs is up, or excuse me, 800,000 something. Theirs is 900, so a little bit more. But they're providing the whole community with a police service. And I think it's time for Randolph to take and put the police department back in the general, or put it into the general budget. And again, I join John in saying, we've been voting for a couple of years. Oh, well, we'll just vote it in this year and we'll work on it. Well, at some point we have to say, no, it's just enough. We need to have a townwide vote as to whether we should have a townwide police department, and I think that's the way to proceed. So, thank you.
Thank you. I see a hand way in the back. It's Ms. Mizuko.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Joyce Mizuko, Randolph Center. The question about police district has a very long and troubled history. It goes way back to 1984 when the town and the village of Randolph merged to become the entity of Town of Randolph. In order to accomplish that merger, the Articles of Merger created a special use district called the police district. There was also the separate district for the water district and sewer district, so that each of those three special districts, the money raised to fund them would come from those residing within the district where those districts served. And that is the big issue that has loomed over the town of Randolph for decades. There has been a desire to try and create a town-wide police department for a very long time. It has never happened because in order for it to be accomplished by the Articles of Merger, there has to be two separate votes. There has to be a vote by the people who reside within the district to expand the district. Then there has to be a separate vote by the people residing outside of the district to decide to join the district. If the two votes do not agree, then there is no merger. And that has been the issue all along because there has been multiple attempts to try and create a police department for the entire time, but it has always been voted down because, for one, it's a public question, so therefore it's always been a question addressed from the floor of the meeting. And so it's been difficult for people from both sides to attend meetings. And usually when these meetings have occurred, the majority of the people who attended tended to be people who were outside of the police district. So in all those instances during my tenure as town clerk, all those instances were voted down. So this is an issue that the entire town as a whole needs to address again. They need to have the active discussion to look at it. The select board, needs to come up with the data to present their proposal if they want to try and do a town police department as to the pros and cons and how that benefit actually benefits everyone within the town. Because right now, the way that the model is, yes, the police are servicing what was considered the old police district. So they have very limited boundaries. However, in past discussions from the select board and whatnot, they have indicated that due to public safety issues and things, even though the village, the police district is paid by the people who reside in the former village area, when there are calls that are made for help outside of the district due to mutual aid and whatnot, officers are required to go serve. And that in itself creates much of the angst that people have because the officers are going outside of the district to service areas that are not paying for the service. And the scope of the service that potentially could be provided, outside the district, people are wondering, what are you going to do? I mean, you patrol the streets in town. Are you really going to ride all the roads in town to check things out? I seriously doubt that because you have a limited number of officers, and Randolph has a lot of miles of road. So that's just my comment, just to add to what is discussion right now. Thank you.
Thank you for that history about the merger.
My name is Phyllis Forbes. I served on the Select Board for Randolph in the early 2000s when this issue was raised. And we decided that the best thing to do was to do a study to see where the police were spending their time. And then after that, we heard about this dual vote. And I have to say, I have never voted on whether we should have a village or town police. So I don't know what votes Joyce was just talking about. But at the time, we knew there had to be two votes, one by the town group and one by the larger group. But the survey showed that most of the work that the police was doing was at the school, at Shaw's because of bad checks, at the hospital because of some difficult issues, and backing up the state police when there were accidents in some area of 89 that they could cover more quickly. That's for the entire town. That's not just for the village district. That's for everybody who lives in Randolph. So unfortunately, I didn't continue on the Select Board, but the idea was to do this survey, and then with information about who the police are serving and what it would cost to expand the police force, we could have those two votes. It never took place. So that's like 26, 25 years ago. I think it's time for the Select Board to dig into that issue, find out what the police are doing, what it would mean to expand to a larger district, and bring that information to us so we can vote and determine whether or not we want to have a police that covers all of Randolph. Thank you.
Thank you for that additional history.
Joseph Bosie, Randolph Center. So to give a little bit of history, and I've also talked to village trustees, they weren't select board members at that time, and many of them, and one the late Al Floyd, about this whole merger. And actually the merger hinged on, and whether it was going to even be a merger, on the subject of the police department and whether it be just a village or a town-wide. And it was at that time decided that it would be. There is history that says there was one vote, and that one vote was when Shaw's had taken over Grand Union. And when Shaw's took over Grand Union, they were looking for police protection in that area, and it was soundly defeated. It went away. It just didn't pass at all. To say that those outside the district don't pay for the police protection that comes from outside the district, that's wholly false. And let me tell you why it's wholly false. $125,000 of the general fund budget goes to the police department. 65% of that money, or $81,250, comes from outside the district to that. On another note, I was on the Randolph Police District, if you will, expansion committee that we had. That was 2 years ago. So to say the Select Board didn't look into that, that's also false as well. Select Board did look at that. And what the numbers supported was expanding the district would provide no savings whatsoever for those in the district. What it came out to be was that you would need 5 more police cars, 6 more police officers to cover and give the proper attention outside the district. Also, you'd lose primacy of the state police. So that's an issue. If you look at what happens at VTC, if you look at what happens at Morgan Orchards, if you look at what happens even at the barn, they provide their own security services, not the police services. Now, if you also, we gain the numbers, we gained every bit of the numbers of what the actual travels were outside the district. And what it shows is they actually did not have $81,250 worth of calls and time in to go outside the district on those rarer occasions that the state police couldn't cover. So to say that we outside the district need to have our barns guarded, that we need to have our hay bales, that we have cattle rustling going on, that's not the case. That's not the case. That's not the case at all. And so I don't mind the fact that it wants to come up to a vote. Matter of fact, I welcome that vote to those outside the district control it versus Mr. Harvey or Mr. Kaplan wanting to foist their tax burden upon us outside the district. Thank you.
Thank you for that perspective. I have a hand all the way in the back. Also, if you know you want to speak and you're sitting someplace far away, you can kind of queue up.
Hi, my name is Julie Ifland. Yeah, at the risk of losing a perennial favorite on the town meeting day discussion and having a vote, I just wanted to say that we live outside the district. I recall at least one vote on expanding the district that we voted against, but we didn't vote against it because we were opposed to sharing the cost. I think, some people have talked about, Phyllis just mentioned that the police, patrol areas that are public, like the school, and that's fine with me. I don't mind paying for the school, even though I don't have kids, and I don't mind paying my fair share of what it costs. And we have had the police to our house on, I can think of one occasion where we called and they came. So I have no problem with that. We voted against it because the plan was not well publicized. We didn't know about it really in advance at all. There was no indication sent to anyone in the expansion. The expansion was very limited. And when you looked at the map, I could not figure out, and no one could tell me, why those lines were drawn that way. We live a mile up Tatro Hill Road, which is across some Shaws, and it skirted up there, but it didn't expand out in other directions. So it just wasn't well understood, and it wasn't well explained. And it seemed to me last minute, so that it wasn't, what people weren't involved in the decision or invited to be involved, even though they were potentially affected. So I'd say, I think it's worth looking at. Things change, and I understand, Joe's right. This was done at the time that the merger, it was a conditional on the merger. That's okay. Things change. It's worth looking at again. I would just beg people, if they're going to do this, to involve the community in the discussion and the decision-making, because it will affect some people with, several hundred acres who have cows on it. We don't want to unduly burden places that give in very many other ways to the community. But I think it's also fair to spread this because it is fundamentally a community-wide asset. So I just would again just say, have an honest, inclusive discussion about it. Make sure people understand the issue and what it's going to cost, these different elements of the area, and then you people might be, and different ways to do it. I'm sure there are different ways to do it. But make sure that people understand it really well, or else they will say no, So that's just my contribution. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'm Kristen Chandler. I served on that police review committee with Joe Voci, and we spent hours inviting the community to come to our public meetings. We held public forums for the community to hear about all of the work that we did, the multiple other towns that we looked at of comparable size, along with their police force sizes, the number of people we had to come in and give testimony about what was working in their communities and what wasn't. And there were probably at least a dozen meetings that were open to the public, and there was an ample opportunity to hear from the public, and we did hear from the public. So I regret to inform you that you missed an opportunity to speak up during that lengthy police committee review time.
Thank you. I see a hand in the back. There were quite a few meetings.
Kit Langdell, East Randolph.
Tell us your name one more time.
Kit Langdell. So it sounds like most of the police activity does occur within the district. And also some of the money that funds the police does come from outside the district. So I might argue that the police budget is proportional in and outside of the district relative to use. So increasing the police budget would only be an unnecessary expansion of the police force into areas where we don't need them, we don't use them. I would also say that I, for one, would much prefer that my tax dollars go to funding educational resources such as the schools, such as the public library. Education reduces crime, which reduces the necessity for policing.
Thank you. Come on up, Mr. Sackwitz. Everyone will definitely have an opportunity.
Thank you, Larry Satkowitz, Randolph Select Board. I'd like to just talk briefly about the position that the Select Board has found itself in terms of staffing the police department and what the budget is like over the last few years. Since we reestablished the force, I think it's 4 years now that we reestablished our local police force, we've had a terrible time finding qualified officers to be on our local force. We've never been fully staffed during this period of time, and in recent months, we've been down to as few as one officer because of people needing to be away from their positions for periods of time for different reasons. We've heard very clearly from our officers that before we can even consider expanding the force to be town-wide, we need to be able to fully staff what we already have going on in the district as we have it right now. That if we were to try to go town-wide, given the full-time equivalent amount of officers we have currently, that we would have problems that make them very, very scared. The Select Board has taken the concerns of our officers, who we all, I think, appreciate and place a great deal of trust in, and we've taken their concerns extremely seriously, and they've spoken very clearly. Please do not go town-wide until we have fully staffed what we have right now. So if we vote down the budget, that means that we will have fewer dollars to pay staff. It means that we will only be able to hire fewer officers than what we're trying to hire for this year. It means that going town-wide is not easier, it's harder. So for the folks who would like to see us go town-wide, we should be passing this budget. If you would like to see us keep a police force in Randolph, you should vote for this budget. Our officers have been working extremely hard. Asking more of them by asking them to do more with less at this point is a very difficult ask. The police budget is very high. We spend a lot of money on police. It's really unfortunate. It's also entirely outside of our control. Police officers are really difficult to find right now. They're doing really difficult work, and we need to pay them commensurably, or they simply won't work for us. All the other costs that are associated with policing have been rising faster than inflation. At a certain point, if the situation continues to increase, we might find ourselves with police budgets where are simply too much, and we decide that the value of having police is not worth what we're paying. But that's why we vote on budgets every year, to make that value judgment, right? So I think the position we are in right now is, yes, it's very expensive. Is it worth the money that we spend? Well, that's the decision I think each one of us makes when we fill out our ballot. Is this worth it? My personal opinion is that it is worth it. I think the value we get from the police is very, very large. I think it is often also underappreciated. The effects of the stuff that happens, that the police do for us, are often not obvious to us, walking around town, sitting in our homes, but the value is still there. But again, that's a judgment call that each one of us makes when we go to vote for the budget. And I just wanted folks to be really clear that the Select Board has taken this issue extremely seriously, and even though I might be redundant at this point, we have delved into this very deeply, as some of the other speakers have said. And we are finding ourselves simply in a very tough place, and we have to make this difficult decision. We are also in a place right now, though, where there is some hope on the horizon that we will be able to hire additional officers and fill out our police force. One of the big problems that we've had in the last couple of years is officers come to work for us. They like the idea of working in our wonderful little community, and then they find out what our pension plan is. And unlike the vast majority of officers around the state, our officers are in a pension plan where they need to work 30 years to retire with full benefits, whereas almost all the other officers around the state of Vermont only need to put in 20 years. And given the fact that the police departments around the state are all looking for help, we don't look real good when we have that as something to offer. It's a really big deal for the police officers who might want to work for us. There is a bill in front of the General Assembly right now that would change that to allow our officers to move to a different pension plan. It looks like that bill is going to get through the process, and sometime very soon we'll be able to tell officers who would like to work for us that they will be able to have the same sorts of pension benefits that the other officers in the state have, and hopefully that will make a significant difference in our ability to hire, attract, and keep officers. And then once we are fully staffed, this conversation of whether we should be going townwide or not, we'll have to have that conversation over again and use the current numbers, look at the current situation. Our world is changing very rapidly, and then make a community decision about what we would like to do.
I should note that the town has a new website, and if you haven't checked it out, you should, because it's been reorganized and it's much easier to use. So thank you, Select Board, for that. It's huge. And the police department does publish every single month a list of what they did that month, and you can go check out and find out what you are paying for. I'm going to take first-time speakers. If you have not spoken on this subject, come forward.
Alejandro Ruiz. I live outside the district. I just want to comment on exactly what you just said, Kelly, which is everything the police does is actually logged, and we can go look at it. And this is a complaint I've had of our town process. I've been at many of the police services committee meetings, or the ones where we were expanding the district, I forgot what it was called. And as a rule, we've generally asked the police what they need, as opposed to looking at what the police are actually doing and deciding how to best solve that as a town. And so this is a year out of date, but just we can look at what the police do. So for example, here are their top arrests. Arrest on an in-state warrant, driving with a criminally suspended license, marijuana possession by a person under 16 years. We can go look at this. I have this data available. If you're trying to decide, if this, like Larry said, if this is actually worth the value we're getting, I highly encourage you to look at this data. If you want it, please feel free to email me. Thank you.
Okay, we have a lot of speakers, and I'm just letting you know you're all going to get a chance to speak. I'm going to take this person here.
My name is Margaret Whiteneck, usually known as Peggy, but I think the voter roll says Margaret
Thank
Whiteneck.
you.
I live in East Randolph, and I had an incident where a dog attacked me and another dog that were walking along the road about a year and a half ago, and I was injured, and the police chief from Randolph here in the town happened to be in the area, and so he responded to that call, and I was very grateful for that. Normally, we don't see any police in East Randolph, and that creates certain issues, not the least of which is people speeding down the main drag, Route 14, through East Randolph, doing 70 miles an hour or more when the speed limit is, a whole lot less than that. And I would just like, as a source of information, when that kind of stuff happens and we've got people speeding down our highway there at 75 miles an hour, who do I call? Do I call the state police? Do I call the town police? Who do I call?
The state police do serve East Randolph.
Thank you.
It's a state highway.
We have a speaker here.
Hello, my name is John Mizuko, and yes, I am the worst half of Joyce Mizuko. I don't always agree with her on things, but let me tell you, she is very knowledgeable about the history of what goes on in this town. She mentioned 1984, which is when she was working, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Joyce, as a town clerk, town treasurer. She worked as town treasurer and town clerk for 22 years, during which I refer to myself as a widower. You can depend on what she says and her memory and her knowledge. She's really good at it. I would suggest that if you have problems with the police budget, that you take it up with the police, that you could either follow what Larry was suggesting, but the issue is, if the issue is the services that they provide, if the issue is that they're overpaid, etc., Take it up with them, please. Joyce and I have lived in Randolph for 48 years, nearly half a century. In fact, we just celebrated our 50th anniversary. Thank you. How she puts up with me is another question, but that's not for here. Okay. Now, by the way, I personally know Mr. Kaplan and his wife. I personally know, what's your name again?
That's Mr. Porter.
It must be my age. Harvey Porter. Okay, I know quite a number of people here. At any rate, yes, we've been living here for 48 years. 8 years on Forest Street, about 27 or so on Elm Street. Now we live up in Randolph Center for about the last 12 years. I want to tell you that for the first 2 houses that we lived, from 1978 to, 2010 or so, we lived on Forest Street for 8 years. We lived on Elm Street, also known as Pill Hill, for 25, 27 years. Both places we paid for the police because we were in the district. We didn't mind paying. We lived in the district. We chose to live there. As most people, I would think, who live in the village, choose to live in the village. We also paid for our own septic system and to have it pumped. And this is our 2 places in the village. Why did we not pay for septic? Because we didn't use it. We didn't use the public septic system. We did pay for water. We paid. We used it. And I think that's it. So the bottom line here is we chose to live up in Randolph Center. And there are a lot of downsides to living up there. There's upsides, but there's a lot of downsides. People who live in the village, I would think, for the most part, have chosen to live in the village. It's your responsibility to pay for your services. And I guess that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to give everybody who has not had an opportunity to speak. So if you haven't spoken about this, I'm going to go ahead. I see the 2 of you. Gentleman in the back. Is this Mr. Daniel?
Yep.
Go ahead.
It's George Daniel again from Randolph Center. A little background. I spent time in the Border Patrol. I spent time with law enforcement in the Air Force, did stuff with the Sheriff Department. I have nothing against law enforcement. Obviously, I embraced it. I used to work in that field. But somehow, this has got turned around in the respect that, 1, you guys didn't have any law enforcement for several years there for a period. Life as you know it didn't come to an end. Now you've got some law enforcement again. I'm sure you don't have 24-hour round-the-clock, but the bottom line is with law enforcement, unless you have like a battalion of MPs behind you, you do not have the capacity to be preventive. It's proactive. So what you have here down here, somebody breaks into your place, you call the cops, they do an accident report on your vehicle or a theft and stuff. In the insurance field, people make decisions. You've got a car, you got liability on it, or do you want full insurance on it? A lot of people want full insurance. Some people, I can't afford it. My vehicle, if it gets broken into or something, fine. What I'm trying to tell you, you need to really sit there and think about this when a lot of you people going, oh, well, it's great to have law enforcement. It's costing you guys over $2,000 a day. I hate to say that, but at the end of the day, if somebody got broken into and lost everything, this town would be better served to have some cop show up, i.e. the chief and maybe one other person, take that claim and the town could pay that person for their lost, and you guys would be money ahead. It's a feel-good thing that you guys are doing, but it's not realistic. Now, having said that, a lot of these little projects are little pet things, not including law enforcement down here. I look at it as Randolph Center and East Randolph because we don't have the population, but we do have this tax base. We've turned into being the little sugar daddy for your little pet projects down here, i.e. little sidewalks that you want to do and put these things up. It's almost to the point where East Randolph and Randolph Center would be better served to go our own ways because the interstate basically makes it where we're not contiguous with the rest of the town. We're on the other side of the fence. We would probably be better served to be over with Brookfield. So I'm just saying, I don't mind putting money into things, but you people fiscally are just losing your mind down here and stuff. You really are. So that's all I got to say.
Thank you.
Hi there. My name is Mark Rosalbo.
Okay.
I just want to comment on the previous speaker. I couldn't disagree more. I think that Chief Scott and his team focus a great deal of time and effort in getting to know our community, and when they know our community, they do a better job because they have contacts, they have a better understanding of what the community needs, and so I just completely disagree with that. Scott puts a ton of time in working and getting to know virtually everybody here. But what I wanted to say was that if you could listen to what Larry Satkowitz said and actually internalize that, because we are at a crossroads with our police department, and it's a very serious one. I've interviewed Scott, I've interviewed Chelsea, I've interviewed the retired police chief, Boignac. What Larry says in terms of it being difficult to support them and to find new police, it's really true. And the police officers that we have are here for more than one reason. They're here because they believe in impact, they believe in our community, and it's clear that they're being underpaid. It's clear that police officers around our country, they've got it really difficult because morale is just really low. And when Larry says if we vote down this budget, we are going to lose our police force, there's no doubt that that's what happens. These people are at the end of their rope. They're tired. They need our support. And a speaker earlier on was talking about our healthcare system and the need for all these smaller organizations that are predominantly run by women that are supporting mental health issues and our aging population. Well, these people go predominantly to homes. The folks that are caseworkers at Central Vermont Council on Aging now support not just those over the age of 60, but people with serious long-term mental health issues. And oftentimes when they go to serve those people in our community, which lowers the cost of medical care so enormously, they need to have a police officer go. They need to have the support of that police officer. So, there are so many components that are all tied together, and I can appreciate the stress looking at it financially and wanting to have that debate about whether or not we're going to serve the town more broadly. But I implore you to vote in favor of the budget, because it will be very, I strongly believe it'll be quite negative if it's voted down. Thank you.
Hi, Robin Goodall. I have, John and Joyce, you got us by 2 years, I think. We moved here in 1980, and we have lived both inside the district and outside the district. I am reminded so strongly of the conversations, the years and years of conversations, years before we merged the elementary schools, and the decision-making that went on then about whether we were a community, right? Or whether with different personalities, depending on which neighborhood you lived in, or whether we were in fact whether they wanted in fact to continue as 3 separate spaces. These are hard changes to make. They are hard conversations to have. I would be most interested to know in the data, and straight up, I haven't looked, if the report from a couple that Phyllis was talking about, whether those trends hold true, whether the police force does in fact spend the bulk of their time at the hospital and at Shaw's and in the schools. Because if that's the case, they're already serving us as a community. The geography of that doesn't matter, does it? They're already there. And my guess is that not all of the people that are getting in trouble in those spaces live in the village. That trouble comes from everywhere, if it's going to find you. I think that the police are an important resource. I think that the importance of some kind of police presence has become so much more important since the Orange County Sheriff's Department disappeared. I apologize for my phone. And we have to pay attention. And as the state police has experienced increasing amounts of difficulty recruiting people who can do the work that they need to have them do. Keeping people, the resources that keep us safe are being stretched really thin. But the resources that keep our community with the neighborhoods of East Randolph and Randolph Center and the village, which used to be North Randolph, right? West Randolph? Okay, there's a North Randolph too. But it's, they keep all of us safe, as that's the, as you heard just a minute ago. If they get called, then they go. The same as if they get called to my house up on Maple Street, they come. And you got to consider that. We have to put the resources behind them, behind our towns so that they can recruit and retain officers, and we have to be mindful of all of that stuff. But they're already serving everybody. Even if they're only landing in 3 locations in town, 4 locations, they're already serving everyone.
Before you, have you spoken on this issue yet? Are you a first-time speaker on this issue?
I don't know. I spoke once about something.
Go.
I just wanted to suggest that we move on.
Okay. I am going, if there is no objection, we have an objection. So a motion has been made to end discussion of this article. Is there a second? Second. Okay. Give me 1 second. Hey, that was funny. Okay, so the question before you is if we should move on to other articles. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and we will move on. Now, I have a proposal for you because it's 11:40, and we still have to talk about the water and sewer district, the ambulance, which is usually pretty short, special appropriations, that varies. These last articles, 25, 26, 27, require action. They don't require action. They call for action from the floor. So my thought is that we skip ahead to those and then go back in time. We won't do that if any single one of you objects. Okay, so we're gonna skip ahead. I'm looking at page 3. The heading is for discussion and action from the floor. We're gonna handle articles 25, 26, and 27, and then we will go backwards to the articles we've skipped. So we will discuss them, we will talk about those, okay? But I don't wanna lose too many of you before we do this. Okay, Article 25 reads, shall the town of Randolph vote on all public questions by Australian ballot? You don't have to take this up. You can. By way of background, again, our town votes on budget and monetary stuff by Australian ballot. You're well familiar with that. The effect of this article would to end any action from the floor at town meeting and move those subjects to Australian ballot. This has not been moved to the floor, so there's no discussion. Ms. Mizuko has moved Article 25 to the floor. Is there a second? And it's been seconded, I'll say, by Jessamine West, because I heard her voice. Okay, now it's open for discussion. Go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Alejandro Ruiz.
And speak up so we can hear you.
Oh, short people.
There you go.
I would vote against this, and I encourage everyone else to vote against it. In my memory, I believe this is the 3rd time we've taken this up in the last few years. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. I understand the motivation behind it, which is to give people access, but I would counter that democracy is actually pretty inconvenient. And a lot of times, especially for the more technical things, were I not to come to town meeting, I would not have a meaningful vote to cast because I learned how the town works. So I would encourage people to vote no, and I would encourage in the future that we invest more effort into making town meeting vote so that we can have actually substantive, deliberative discussions as opposed to just going into the ballot and voting without understanding what we're voting for. Maybe if that doesn't work, we can revisit this issue after some substantial attempt to invest in town meeting. Thank you.
Ms. Mizuko, we see you in the back. If you know you want to speak, don't hesitate to sort of queue up.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. The question about voting all questions by Australian ballot, a discussion about that happened back multiple times back in the 80s and the 90s. It was in 1991 that the town finally voted to go to Australian ballot for budgetary questions, but to address any public questions by the floor of the meeting. It was a contentious discussion because there was feeling for keeping the traditional town meeting where you had all your questions addressed from the floor of the meeting. But there was also the sentiment of those who, because of work, because of multiple other reasons, were not able to attend the meeting, and the feeling of being excluded in the process of deciding how budgets and questions are addressed. And that issue continues to be a problem. Yes, we vote everything by Australian ballot. yes, it affords more people the opportunity to vote and have a say. But voting by Australian ballot doesn't necessarily mean that the people voting actually understand what they're voting for. And that's always been an issue, and that was the sentiment for trying to keep a traditional town meeting where you addressed everything from the floor of the meeting. But the sentiment back in 1991 was to move to bring the questions of budgetary matters, monetary matters, to a vote by Australian ballot, and that's how we proceeded. But the vote retained the opportunity to address public questions from the floor of the meeting. And from the floor of the meeting, based on how our budget committee was created and whatnot, the officers serving in the position of budget committee are voted on from the floor of the meeting. And given time and everything else, I'm very torn about this issue, because for one part of me says, yes, by voting by Australian ballot on all issues means that more people get to vote on it. But the flip side of it is, in my history with dealing with elections and seeing how people have voted in the past, the majority of people do not know what they're voting for. They just go out and they say, oh, okay, I'll do this, I'll do this, I'll do this, do this. I believe that having the discussion on the floor of the meeting provides the opportunity to people to actually voice what they're thinking. And it affords the opportunity for others to hear what they are thinking. Yes, we could put information out in media, on social media, in the press, wherever. Getting people to actually read it is another thing, okay? I can tell you that my history with dealing with sending out things to remind people of dog license, tax bills, whatever, the majority of people do not read it. It's a piece of paper, they toss it, it's gone. They even toss the tax bill with it, so there you go. But I think it's important that we retain the ability to discuss in person the issues that matter. And I'll leave it at that.
Thank you very much. Go ahead. Thank you.
I'm Jessamine West. I am one of the people that helps run the elections. I'm also part of a group of people who have been trying to increase civic engagement in coming here, in coming to the meetings to discuss the budget, the town budget and the school budget, and a whole bunch of other stuff. I think we voted on this twice before already. We voted it down both times. I would love to stop seeing this at the same time as I absolutely understand that it's a real trick trying to figure out how to get people to participate in the society and the stuff that governs them. I don't think it's an easy decision, but by the same token, I agree entirely with Joyce and with Ale that we do need to be able to talk about these issues. One of the things I notice a lot when working the polls, Tuesday, 7 to 7 town hall, is that you need to, a lot of people come in and they maybe have their person they're voting for or their thing they're voting against, and a lot of stuff they just don't know about. And you know, sometimes they ask us, like, who are these people? What would you do? And we can't say anything. But by the time they're at the polls, it's too late. And I think we've moved town meeting. I think maybe that has helped. I may be wrong, but I think we have more people this year than last year, right? Don't you think? And I think that's a big deal. And I think we should instead be focusing our attentions on ways to engage people civically, on ways to get people to participate. If they're on social media, go to social media. If they're walking by the RACDC kiosk, let's put stuff up there. If they are walking by Floyd's, let's put stuff up there. If we have to hang signs in the windows of businesses, let's do that. but I feel like getting people here so that they can not only understand things, but get their questions answered the rest of the days when you're not at the library, I think is a really important part of being a functioning community, is an important part of being a functioning democracy, and is an important part of being sort of part of Randolph. And we should encourage, as in a genuine option, encouraging, incenting. It was easier to come here knowing there was breakfast, that kind of thing. And I think we should continue and do more of that. And I think we should not vote to move all of our votes to Australian ballot. Thank you.
I'm going to go back and forth between these aisles, and I apologize. I don't know who is first, but go ahead. And I am looking for hands in the audience as well.
Emily Lewis, Randolph Village resident. I have a point of clarification first. Can you clarify specifically what is meant by public questions?
I can. It is any question that is not a budget question or monetary. And those may have separate meanings.
Okay, thank you. I do agree with much of what the previous speakers have said about the importance of, is there any way that this can go higher?
I'm sorry.
I'll just get a quad workout. I completely agree with the need and the desire to have robust public engagement, public participation. But at the same time, I would like to point out that look around the room, and while there may be more people here than there have been in the past, there are maybe a couple of hundred people, and there are several thousand people within the town of Randolph. This is the first time I've been able to be here in 6 years, not because I am not interested in coming to town meeting, but because I have a small child. I am grateful that there is childcare available here, but my husband isn't here because my child didn't want to come to childcare. There are people who work. And so I think that by only having the people that are able to come in person be able to vote on certain issues is not equitable to the rest of the people in the town of Randolph.
Thank you.
I am Chris Recchia from Randolph Village, and I'm pretty happy with the way this is right now, in the sense that you'll recall, many of you will recall that a few years ago, when something was on the Australian ballot, we actually weren't able to discuss it in the town meeting. Right? So that was a fundamental problem that couldn't get the information out. That changed, which is great. And so now we can discuss any of the articles, including money articles. There are very few, as you can see, to vote on here, but it's nice to have the option for non-money things to be able to do that here. Not to talk about Article 26, but when we try and get someone to volunteer for the budget committee, we need this group because often we have to wrestle somebody down to the ground and force them to do it. So without that ability, my fear is you'd have those vacancies too. So I'm pretty happy with the way this is and the way it evolved. We now meet on Saturdays, which does give people more of an opportunity to do this if they have to work. It's not perfect, but I think it's a pretty good system that we have now. Thanks.
Thank you.
Josie Carruthers, East Randolph. Quickie. I had a long conversation with a guy, a long-term resident in Randolph Center, who worked hard to create the Australian budget ballot opportunity in the interests of fair play. And he said he regrets it very much now because the reason to do it was, of course, who can show up on a Tuesday? Most people can't do that. Putting it to Saturday, that was helpful. But he wanted more voter turnout. He wanted more involvement from townspeople. So he did it in the interest of fair play and democracy. Why does he regret it now? Because it didn't, voting levels increased substantially, very gratifying in, say, 92, 93. But then it went back to before the change, the sort of discouraging level of town participation before the change. So I'd like to just point out that it's very possible that the whole episode of putting something on Australian ballot has not necessarily served the interests of greater citizen participation and the interests of democracy. The opportunity to talk to people face to face is a lot more riveting than reading long entries, and and this is the way human beings seem to interact best. And so I'm rather passionately in favor of keeping as much decision making as possible on the floor of town meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Julia Zimmerman in Randolph Center. I wanted to second some of the things that people have said earlier. I think it's really important that we continue to have voting at town meetings so that people are incentivized to come to town meeting. I would even like to see more important issues come up during town meetings, such as the budget items. I think voting on those here would be good. And the sort of big picture is that I think it's, in today's modern world, it's very hard to all be in the same place and get to know your community face to face and speak to each other. But I think that's super important, and we need to add as many more of those opportunities for the town as we can. And I really, really appreciate all of you coming here, whether I agree with your opinions or not. I think it's great that you're here and you care about Randolph, just like I do. So I think we need more and more of those opportunities, not fewer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Alyssa Matthews, Select Board member. Thank you all for coming. I did suggest putting this back on. I thought it was just the second time, so.
Speak up, I can't
I
quite
thought
hear
it was
you.
just the second time, but the reason I thought it was important to put on the floor is that I'm really energized by everybody being really interested in getting involved. I'm hoping that we can actually build town meeting into a bigger community event. There's discussions that can still happen. Like we said, the budget is not getting voted on. We're having discussions about the budget. That's really important. Anything that we have that should get voted on can have a discussion at town meeting. This is not to get rid of town meeting. It is to make sure that we have as many people voices vote when the votes get made. And there's about, I forget the number, is it 30% of town votes by Australian, like when we have town meeting day, less than 10, less than 5 usually at town meeting. So it's hard to capture all the voices. And I know just being on the select board, I would love to hear more voices come and have discussions when we're having discussions every single month and the 6 weeks leading up to town meeting, and we don't hear a lot of voices. So as much engagement as we can chime up would be great, but thank you.
All right, you just were all invited to select board meetings, so thank you. That is a good opportunity to actually influence policy.
Thank you. Emery Mathias again. I'm going to vote no on Article 25. I support town meeting day, and I believe it needs to be as robust as possible. I'm speaking now because I believe that we as a community can make this change, and I think we can make it as a change statewide. We have both representatives, at least they were here, and our senator as well. We could ask them that Tuesday be a state holiday, not just for the 8,000 employees, but for all of us as a state, and that everyone knows that town meeting day is free and available for us to participate. I believe it should be a holiday, and we can move this back to Tuesday when everyone's available and everyone knows that this is what we're doing. We're here to participate. We want everyone to have every seat filled and to be on Zoom, even though they couldn't vote. That's a separate issue. But we want more participation here. I want town meeting to be as robust as possible. And even if we can't vote on the budget, more people here is better. We can make this a state holiday. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Nancy Rice. I'm from Randolph Center. And I think that human beings have trouble communicating with each other, and town meeting is good practice.
Thank you. I absolutely endorse that comment.
Hi there, Dustin Adams. I just wanted to make the point that this isn't just about voting on items. This is about the culture of our town, right? The culture of Vermont. Town meeting and all the other various Vermont-specific aspects of civil engagement that we have are what differentiate Vermont, a small rural community, from the Eastern Shore, where I come from, another small rural community. One is great, the other one's kind of a shithole, and I don't want to see Vermont turn into the Eastern Shore. Thank you.
Wow, hard words for the Eastern Shore.
My name is Christine Settles. I live in East Randolph. Is it too late to vote to postpone this motion indefinitely?
Oh, boy. Okay, hang on, let me look.
Christine.
It's not too late, okay? Just give me a second while I look up. Well, what you're calling for is passing over the article. And
forever.
And
Or at least
under
for
Vermont
10
law,
years.
under Vermont law, that means 4 different things. So after discussion has begun, it is called postponing indefinitely. And let me just see what has to happen to help you with that.
It's called Stop Asking Me. I have a young child. Stop asking.
But that's what it is.
Well, hopefully not.
Okay, so are you making a motion to postpone this conversation indefinitely?
Yes.
Is there a second? Okay, this is a debatable motion. So a motion has been made to postpone this article indefinitely. And you may discuss that motion, and we will have to vote on that motion. Would anyone like to, would you like to talk about why you want to postpone it indefinitely?
I am tired of seeing this on the warning. We vote for 2 things at this meeting. The idea that it is onerous to people to come to vote for who's going to be on the budget committee just doesn't make any sense to me. And I know that the town clerk and the town treasurer get voted for here as well, and that I think is very important, but we have done a lot to try to encourage people to come to town meeting. If that matters a lot to them, it's 1 day a year. I would like to see people kind of take some initiative to come to town meeting and participate in the democracy that we can see rapidly disintegrating around us. So if we could bring it back into our little towns a little bit, I think that would be, it's super valuable. And I'm just tired of seeing the select board put this on the warning year after year after year and having to consistently vote it down. I don't like getting angry, so.
Thank you. I will note that the election for treasurer and town clerk is by Australian ballot. Other comments? I see hands up, and we'll line up. Go ahead, Kristen. Did you want to speak? Oh, okay.
Hey, Chris Hunt, Randolph Center. Question.
Mr. Hunt?
Yes.
Thank you.
Is early voting already open?
Yes.
If we were to switch to Australian ballot, could people still vote on the things we discussed today?
Yes, the ballot has been set, and
would it be possible for town meeting to be a polling place for people to discuss and then vote on their way out or in?
if I understood what you said, in the past, when we had town meeting on Tuesday, and we used to have the polling place literally right next door, then it was in town hall, so people would come to town meeting, and right afterwards they could go to town hall and vote, or right into the next room. That was when we did town meeting on Tuesday, and they were together.
Okay, then I would advocate in favor of Australian ballot and having a polling place here so we can discuss and then immediately vote, but everyone would still have the opportunity to vote. You can still be influenced by the people in this room, then go vote. But the people who don't come aren't missing out.
Thank you. We're talking about a motion to postpone this article indefinitely. Go ahead.
Joyce Mizuko, Randolph Center. I think we should just vote this question up or down and be done with it. Passing it over just means that next year they can come back again and say, we'll do this again. So vote it down one way or the other. You know, vote it up if that's what you want, vote it down if that's what you want. But you know, just saying postpone it just puts it off. It's the same thing that we did with the question about clerk and treasurer. We passed over it. That means that down the road they can, well, either case, they can always bring that question back. But I think that if we give a definitive answer, yes or no, it says what we want to happen. Instead of just saying, oh, put it down the road, we'll deal with it another time. Let's make a decision, yes or no.
Thanks, Chris Recchi again from Randolph. Yeah, I don't think the motion to pass over this is accomplishing what the originator thought, in the sense that it doesn't preclude this from coming back year after year after year in any way. So I think respectfully, I suggest we either vote the postponement or the passing over down, or have that withdrawn and then go right to the vote of the issue as well. So
okay,
thank you.
Give me 1 second, please.
Yep. Oh, and I'm willing to be corrected, which might be what you're doing, in whether this is a permanent, like, prohibition from getting this back onto the article. I don't think so.
Yeah, so you are correct. Postponing indefinitely does not mean that the select board could not put this again on the warning.
Right.
I just wanted to check Robert's rules, because there is actually postponement to a certain date.
Okay. Thank you.
But Ms. Blackmer-Lewis.
Yes, Kristen Lewis-Blackmer, live on Fish Hill in Randolph. I just want to say, so I'm a JP, and I am at the voting booth on Tuesday, and what I have been seeing the last couple times are tons of young people coming with their town report marked up. They've got it in their hands. They're coming in to vote. They're excited, and we may not be seeing them here in the room, but they're out there, and we're recording this with the help of Orca, the same as with that candidate forum, and the younger people are watching these things, and they are coming in prepared, and it's fabulous to see, and I'm so sorry that we don't have a good representative sample of Randolph, and East Randolph and Randolph Center, because I'm looking around the room, I'm 50, and I think I'm one of the youngest people here. So, and that is regardless of whether we're here Tuesday or Saturday. but they're out there. The people are coming out to vote. So, we did kind of a quick count. There were maybe a little under 150 people in the room today when we were at our biggest. But we've got a really thriving community of people who are actively engaged in our town politics. They're turning up. They're active on social media. They're engaging. And it might not be in the room with us today, but we are really lucky that we have so many people willing to participate.
Thank you.
Stephanie Tyler, Treasury Clerk of our Select Board. I just want to clarify, yeah, can you hear me better now? I just want to kind of clarify why we decided to put this on the warning. There are people who have actually asked us to bring this back up again. This is only the second time. It was just really long the first time. And so that's part of the reason why we decided to put it before you again. We're not trying to annoy you, but we are trying to allow, I promise. Because we sit through this too. But it was really important when it was brought to us that, well, for me, the reason why I agreed to put it back on the warning again, even though I even said during that meeting, I think it's gonna be the same discussion we had before, was because the people who can't be here asked that they be considered, and that's why we put it back on again. Or at least that's why I voted to put it back on the warning again. Just as a point of clarification. Thank you.
Thank you. So the motion before you is whether we should postpone this indefinitely. If you vote to postpone it indefinitely, we will cease the conversation and move on to the next thing. If you vote that motion down, we will go on to the main question. I see a hand. Okay, all right. All right. So the vibe. I try to read the vibe. And so the question is, shall the voters postpone Article 25 indefinitely? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. And we have to have a standing vote because I can't decide that. Could I have the Board of Civil Authority? We don't need a paper vote. We can do this with a standing vote. Okay. Could you split your sections? Could you each stand in front of your sections? So this is so let me just remind you, this is simply on the motion whether to postpone Article 25 indefinitely. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have every single person stay seated. This is on the motion to postpone discussion of Article 25 indefinitely. Yep, only Randolph voters may vote. The effect of postponing this, we will just move on to the next subject. If you don't vote to postpone it, we can continue discussion or vote on the main motion, which is Article 25. You'd vote it up or down, okay? So, all those in favor of postponing indefinitely Article 25, please stand and stay standing while we count you. Everybody sit. Everybody sit. we're going to now count those opposed. Those opposed to postponing indefinitely Article 25, please stand and stay standing. We don't need it. No. Those opposed have it. And the motion to postpone this indefinitely is lost. So now we are still discussing Article 25. And I understand we want to call the question. If there is no objection, none at all, I will call the question. There is an objection. Please go ahead. Actually, I'm sorry, I screwed that up. Is there a second to calling the question? Okay. So there is no debate on calling the question. Okay. Calling the question means we will vote on Article 25. So if you, the question is going to be, are you in favor of calling the question, which would trigger an immediate vote on Article 25. 2/3 of you have to approve calling the question. So, all those in favor of calling the question, meaning voting immediately on Article 25, say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Nay. The ayes clearly have it, and we will now vote on Article 25. Article 25 reads, shall the town of Randolph vote on all public questions by Australian ballot? All those in favor say aye. Aye. No. All those opposed say nay. Nay. The nays have it, and Article 25 is lost. See why we're doing this like before people run out of steam? Okay, we're going to move on to Article 26. Article 26 is kind of fun. For Article 26, it says to elect and fill vacancies on the Budget Committee, and there are two. There is a 2-year term expiring in 2028, and there is a 3-year term expiring in 2029. We are going to vote on these individually, one at a time, okay? So the first thing that we're going to vote on is filling the term of the 2-year term. And what we do here is we open the floor for nominations. And let me give you a little bit of background here. Something you may not know, but you can nominate someone who is present. That's great. You can also nominate someone who is not present. If you nominate someone who is present, the election becomes, and they accept, The election is final once we vote and I announce the winner. If you nominate someone who isn't here right now, we have an election, but the election only becomes final when that absent person is both notified and doesn't decline. So you do have an option of picking someone who didn't come today, but you have to be aware that they can decline. So let's open the floor for nominees. 2 years.
Am I jumping the gun?
Nope, go ahead.
My name is Nancy Scheffler. I would like to nominate my husband, who could not be here today. He just had hand surgery, and he was really feeling lousy. His name is Scott Frew. He's the president of the Stock Farm Homeowners Association. He is a investment professional, though he's now retired. He ran a hedge fund for a long time. He ran a manufacturing company in Connecticut. He reached out when he heard there was an opening on the budget committee, and whomever he was reaching out to, I think his email was full and he never heard back. But a few people may know Scott. I don't know who else is interested in this job, but he is. Scott Frew, F-R-E-W.
F-R-E-W, thank you so much for that nominee. Are there any other nominees for the 2-year seat? Okay, there's only one nominee, so we can do a voice vote if there's no objection to a voice vote. All those in favor of appointing Scott Frew to the 2-year seat, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Scott Frew has been appointed. Elected. Again, the election is not final until he receives official notice and accepts. But it sounds like he will. All right, we have a 3-year term. Careful.
Yeah. My name is Ken Hafner. I'm also, at this point, chair of the Budget Committee. So I'd like to nominate John Farrow, please.
John Farrow, thank you. Is John here? Where are you? Oh, hi. Mr. Farrow, out of curiosity, would you accept if we voted for you? Okay. Let me see if there are any other nominees for that 3-year seat.
Aaron Settles from East Randolph, Vermont. I nominate my wife, Christine Settles, for the 3-year term. She's been involved in finance for several years, most of our relationship, as a matter of fact. And she's very passionate about being a member of the community. So there's that. Thank you.
Thank you. I know Christine Settles is here. But where are you exactly, Christine? There you are. And would you accept the nominee if you were elected?
I would.
Okay.
But I don't need to fight about it.
You need what? It's John Farrow. And I can help you with this afterwards. And Christine Settles. Are there other nominees for this 3-year seat? Okay, there are 2 nominees. Would the nominees each like to say briefly? Actually, let me ask Mr. Farrow first. Would you like to say anything? You don't have to, but you can. You can direct your comments directly to me if you want.
Yes. I was appointed to the Budget Committee by the Select Board a couple of months ago, and unfortunately, we haven't had very many meetings, as is noted in the Budget Committee report. I've run a financial firm in Randolph for nearly 50 years, and many people in the room already know me. So I probably don't need to say much about my qualifications. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Settles, would you like to say a few words? Again, you don't have to.
I have 20 years of finance and accounting experience, largely in nonprofits working with federal funds, and am just looking for ways to help the community flourish. I live in East Randolph, got a kid in the school, and just, yeah, want to continue to see Randolph be the vibrant community that it is.
Thank you. Okay. Because there are two candidates, we can do a standing vote if there are no objections. So it looks like we can do a standing vote. So if I could get my Board of Civil Authority back to count in your columns. All right, everyone stay seated. And all those in favor of John Farrow for the 3-year term, please stand and stay standing. You can sit. Thank you. I'm sorry. Congratulations to Christine Settles. She has won that 3-year seat. Mr. Farrow, thank you for running. There will be another opening for you. Your time will come. All right. As to Article 27, this is to hear and act upon any town reports. I will note for you that the town reports are largely in the town report which you're holding. Are there any other reports of town officers or committees? If not, and there's no objection, we will accept these reports. and go back in time to the Water and Sewer District. Is there an objection? I see your hand up, Ms. Rice. Please stand up.
I was just wondering if anybody on the select board could explain the change of having a different setup for zoning administrator. And I see that it's on a temporary basis, so I guess it's just trying it out, but I was wondering what the reasoning was. Thanks.
Thank you for that question. Is there an answer from someone on the select board that could speak to that? Thank you so much. It's Ms. Tyler.
Hi again. So we switched over to a contract with Alex Torpe. Am I pronouncing his last name correctly? Thank you. Because we couldn't find anyone to fill a full-time position. So he's 2 days a week. And he's also helping us with our town plan. He supports DRB, all those things. And so that was a shift in how we were looking at it in order to fill that vacancy. And it's been really great, honestly. So that's the reason why it changed. Is that good? Okay, cool.
Thank you.
Yep.
Emily Lewis, just have a request for future. I was wondering if when the various committees submit their reports, they could include the committee members on it. I think it would just be useful to be able to see who's a part of that when you're reviewing them. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, if there's no objection, we accept these reports and ask you if you would like to go back. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm rushing you. I don't mean to be rushing anyone.
Pam Overstrom, Randolph. I guess what I found missing in our reports is one from our town manager. I would have liked to hear overall report from him about struggles, successes, and goals for the next year. I couldn't find that anywhere. So is that an unusual year, or is that an unusual year, or? I know
That's a good question. I can't remember if
there's a lot of work
typically
that's been done, I'm sure, and I would love to hear about it. As our leader, I feel like he is our leader for a very important part of the town. And I think Tammy did a great job on a lot of reports, but I would love to hear from our town manager.
If there's no objection to allowing the town manager to speak, who I don't think lives in Randolph, right? No. And he would like to speak, he can.
We haven't had one for a few years, but we can certainly do that for next year.
Go ahead.
Jessamine West, I live in the village. I would also like to point out there's no report from the police, who take up approximately a sixth-ish of our budget. And I know we have a budget report for them, and I appreciate that, but sometimes a narrative report can also be helpful to know what they've been up to. I think we have heard a lot of people talking about how they're not 100% sure what they're up to or where the district is, and it would be great to have that information the same way you get that information from the library. Thank you.
Kristen Chandler. There's also no report from the rec director, and I know that he resigned earlier this year, but not that long ago. And I know there's an assistant rec director, but there's no, other than the budget, there's no information about the Recreation Department, which I know is thriving and doing really well here, and I think ought to be applauded for the various recreational activities that we have here in town as a result of the Recreation Department.
Thank you. I know Ms. Munyon is taking careful notes on all these suggestions for additions to the report.
Hi, Ben Rapson, Randolph. I'm glad that the Recreation Department was mentioned. I didn't know if there was another opportunity to say so. We have so many good things in this town, and I've seen the difference here between good things being supported and those things not being supported. And the treasures of Randolph's Recreation Department serve kids, teens, young adults, medium adults, perfectly ripe adults. Rec programs include after-hour school programs, summer camp, swimming pool, pump track, tennis courts, basketball courts, baseball, softball field, and an ice rink for both skating and apparently cheese curling. So that's nice. The rec department staff are literally manifesting core memories that will be cherished by kids and their families forever. And not just for local residents, but also visitors and nature lovers and tourists from Boston who only wear flannel when they're taking Instagram selfies on their foliage road trip to Vermont. The staff of the rec department is putting us on the map around the state, and it's only possible because of the character and labor and devotion of the right Randolph people. Those people deserve credit and fair consideration for what they've done in the past, but they also embody the potential for our future as a town, as a brighter and more equitable future. I've seen the difference between good people being developed by their colleagues and community and good people not being developed. Morgan Easton is a treasure, and we should support her. We should support her. We should support her. Thank you, Morgan Easton. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
John Kaplan. Since we're doing town report wishes or asks, I was going back through some older town reports, like from maybe 5 years ago.
I'm sorry, from how long ago?
Maybe 5 years.
Thank you.
And there were two things that used to be listed, which I would like to see. One was all of the entities that have a tax stabilization agreement with the town and when that tax stabilization period ends. And the other thing that I think is kind of blatantly missing is any kind of information about the reserve funds. There used to be each reserve fund balance was listed. I forget how many there are. There's like maybe a dozen. A balance with what is going into the reserve fund with the current budget and what the capital expenditures are planned for the next 5 years. And that is not in the town budget. Under each department that has a reserve fund, there's a line item that might say, you know, transfer to paving reserve fund X amount of dollars. That shows up in the regular budget, but there's no kind of accounting of what are the overall balances of each reserve fund and what is the plan for spending those in the coming years. And I think that would be very valuable for voters to see that.
Thank you. Sounds like good information.
Yeah, David Palmer.
Speak up, Mr. Palmer.
David Palmer, Randolph here, village resident. I came in a little late. I didn't realize the town manager was here today. It's good to see that he is. And if we'd give him a chance to speak, I'd like to offer him that opportunity. While there may not be a report written here, nonetheless, I welcome hearing from the town manager his view of the state of the town at this point, and invite him to come forward and share some thoughts with us.
Thank you. If there's no objection, we can let the town manager speak if he would like to.
Thank you. just sitting over here in the corner, trying to stay out of the way and not get accidentally counted when it was time to vote on stuff. We've covered quite a bit of what we've been working on over the past year, staffing the police department, figuring out the future of recreation, trying to rebuild capital plans. We've hired, she was here, she left, our new finance director, Stephanie, was here in attendance for a bit today. Staffing's been one of the bigger constraints over the last few years, so we continue to work to find good people and hang on to good people. New website launched, and I think Mark deserves a lot of the credit for that. He did a lot of the heavy lifting, so I want to make sure we call him out. That's a long time in the making. We'll add some online permitting capacity to that as well. You can pay more bills online. You can still come in and see Tammy and Rose, and Lori was also here, and pay in person. So everybody's, I think, been trying to figure out how can we provide better service in more places. We encourage you to reach out to us. We do want to be accessible. We do want to answer questions. We've got a lot going on. There's a lot of plates in the air, so please be patient with us too, and we'll try to get better at all the things that we could get better at over the next year. I don't know if anybody has any specific questions on project-based stuff. There'll be class 1 paving, so there's going to be a substantial paving project, probably not this summer, but next summer, so be planning ahead. That will be Main Street, Park Street, section of that, Central Street, and a little bit of Forest. That's where Town Highway and State Highway come together. That will be pretty disruptive. That's a VTrans project. There'll be a public information officer, so as we get around kind of the next fall, probably, you'll see more and more info on that. We're going to be doing a facilities analysis so we can do some better capital planning with our facilities and make that data-based rather than who needs what when we think they need it. We're going to be doing the pay and class study so we can get wages up to where they are, which should help us with recruitment, hopefully, and retention. We're working on the retirement bill, which has taken quite a bit of time over the last couple of weeks and is important to police recruitment and retention. We continue to try to do all of the general operating things that we're responsible for, keep equipment in good working order, clear snow, improve stormwater systems. Mud season's coming up. If you call and report in, we're going to put some information up on who you should call and where. And the reason for that is if you give us a location, we can better respond. We've got some new tactics. We use the machinery we have available. Thankfully, it's our 5th season here, and it's thankfully the shortest. Although you could argue there's black fly construction and a few others, but we do the best we can to make sure that folks can make it through that. We've got 120 miles of road, and 75 to 80 of them are class 3, and most of those are the ones that are gravel. So a lot of our road mileage gets pretty muddy at times too. So we work short-term, long-term on how to fix that. Water, wastewater projects, the new wells are online. We've seen a decrease. Yeah. The new wells are online, up at the Ellis lot. There you go. I was trying not to swallow it. We've seen, anecdotally at least, a decrease in discoloration complaints. That was one of the big water system complaint plagues for a couple of years. The wells are on sort of a better sitting from each other, so we've got better fire protection. There's system reliability. Having the 3 water sources helped this fall when other people had drought conditions and had to go on restricted water usage. We never had to do that. We got a little close for a point, but Chris Chambers and his crew did a great job. They operate the wastewater plant without any complaints. Thankfully, that's not a facility that's likely to need anything anytime soon, but we work on some of the guts of that every now and again. If anybody wants to talk about centrifuges versus screw presses, we've spent a lot of time talking about sludge throughout the fall, and we can certainly talk more about that if you want. Top of the head, sorry, I didn't have anything prepared. That's a whole bunch of stuff that we're working on. There's big stuff, small stuff, and everything in between stuff. But I'll be around for a little bit after if anybody has specific questions that I haven't touched on.
Thank you. I have a lot of hands up, but we're going to take Mr. Recchi. He's going to run, though. He's going to run. Mr. Recchi is going to speak first.
Yeah, thank you. And Madam Moderator, I have a question for the town manager. Can I ask it through you?
Sure.
And then he covered a lot of different things, but one of the things that came to my attention recently was that at Town Hall there was posted a sample ballot for the elections tomorrow on Tuesday. it was filled out. It wasn't just a sample. It had names in it for current candidates, and it was posted up on the wall. I wonder
That's
if
awesome.
Yeah, I wonder if he, A, knew about it, B, knew how long it had been up or why that happened, or maybe it gets redirected to the town clerk. But that's my question. Thank you.
Okay, so it was just a sample ballot, but it had been filled out, and I think what you're suggesting is this is like an endorsement of certain candidates.
It could appear that way, and that's why it shouldn't have been filled.
Yes. But come to the mic.
Hello. So the ballots that you're speaking of were in the basement. I was setting up, preparing for Tuesday. There was a meeting being held I was unaware of in the basement. It was brought to my attention they saw those. Now, they were there because I was just trying to figure out where everything was going to be. And the reason they're marked is because we have to randomly mark several ballots, like 10, and run them through the tabulator to make sure that the tabulator is working properly. And beside them, and they're not going to be on the board. They were just there for that one day. The tabulator we print, the first report showing 0, that there's nothing in the tabulator, has not been run through. Then I have another report beside it, which is hanging on the board as well, that proves that it's running properly, that everything adds up. So it's not that it was out there for the public to see. It was me starting to set up, and there was a meeting I was unaware of.
So I'm sorry, for clarification, was it posted in a public place?
No, it was in the
Okay.
basement.
All right, thank you. All right, thanks for the clarification.
Okay.
Sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
Michael Penrod. Even though we've lost a lot of people, I would like to thank the select board members and the town manager for showing up today. I would like to suggest that we not just pop on the town manager at the end of the meeting and say, hey, give us a report. Maybe you could prepare for next year. Hopefully you'll be around, and have that part of the meeting up front before we start the town meeting, so that you could cover and have an opportunity to give us information before we contemplate some of these amendments. So thank you all for coming.
Ms. Morgan.
Hi, Tamara Morgan. I just had someone had asked me, and I haven't had a chance to go back to older town reports, but it would be really helpful if we had not just labeled 2025, 2026, 2027 years, but proposed actual and what the actual budget ended up being, what the actual expenses had been for the previous year, and then the proposed budget for the next year. Someone felt that that was really helpful, and I agreed with them.
Thank you. Ms. Rice. No, keep going, keep trying.
Maybe I missed something.
It seems like it's not on.
It's an accident.
Yeah, Michael. Thanks. I was just wondering, maybe I missed something in the town report, but I didn't see any page about the auditor's report. And we used to always have a page that said something about that, even if it said it wasn't done yet. But could someone address that? Thanks.
Thank you. I see a hand up. Come on forward to our microphone.
Is this a time for gratitude?
State your name.
Irene Schaefer.
Thank you.
Is this a time for gratitude?
Yes, yes.
On behalf of Project Dove, which is supporting our sister city in Mirgorod, Ukraine, I want to thank the people of Randolph and the Randolph area for supporting Project Dove, which supports the local area of Mirgorod. We have so far sent 5 shipments, the last one being double the size of the others, to Mirgorod, Ukraine. And that shipment took longer than any other one to get there. But it is there now, and it is the products are being distributed. We are most grateful for the support that we've been given. Mirgorod became our sister city through the Rotary Club of Randolph. And I personally are very grateful to the citizens of Randolph, but especially the Rotary clubs who have supported heavily. And I hope that we can still support as long as this horrible war is going on. I work with Lee Kahn, and she is the go-getter for us. I would not have been able to do this without her. And I am grateful, of course, to Lee.
Thank you so much.
Am I good to go?
We're, just to orient you, we are on Article 27.
I just want to address the missing reports. It's all really great feedback. The auditor that we have been using has been a little bit of a struggle, so we're actually going out with an is it RFQ or RFP? RFP, thank you. I was confused those two. So we can get a new auditor, which will be really, really helpful for us. We also, in 3 years I've been on the select board, I think we've had a finance director for about 6 minutes. And so we finally have Stephanie hired, and she's really wonderful. And a lot of the trying to get all those numbers put together is a huge job, and I'm really excited for her to be here to help us with those things. So we hear you, and we'll definitely work towards making sure those are done a little bit better next year. And hopefully we'll have full staff. That'd be amazing. So we can better prepare for you guys. So thank you, everyone.
Okay. It's almost 1 o'clock. It's your meeting. We can stay all night. If there's no objection, wait, it looks like my ride is leaving. If there's no objection, oh, nope, there's more to say.
I'm not a Randolph voter.
Yes.
Speak.
You have permission to
Okay.
speak.
I'm Chloe Powell. I just hit 3 years as executive director here. Thank you. And I plan to stick around for a long time. I am a local girl just down the road in Bethel. So last year we asked people to help us with a strategic plan, and that is now in effect, which includes, we've just introduced tributes. So we're still doing all the other wonderful things, but we're trying to listen to the community, find out what you want. We've also brought back the mud season show. So if any of you or someone you know want to audition, you can now audition online or in person. You can talk to Ben over there. If you guys want to fill out a survey, either online or I printed some out, we are going to be doing ticket giveaways for upcoming shows. And part of this incentive, we have funds from Vermont Tourism to support welcoming new residents. So in particular, if you are a new resident, I highly encourage you to talk to us and fill this out. So thank you all. Thank you for keeping the heat on in this building. So.
Okay, let's talk about Articles 6 and 7. we're going back. Thank you for taking that business that needed action up. Article 6 and 7 are about the water and sewer district. And this is your time to discuss that. Looks like Kristen Chandler is going to play mahjong at the oh. All right, well, I just want to say thank you to both of you. All right, I'm not seeing any comment about the water or sewer district. So let's take up Article 8, which is about the ambulance. And if there are no comments about Article 8, let's take up Articles 9 through... Oh, look at that. We missed. That's odd. Okay, we're going to take up 9 through 23. These are special appropriations. If anyone wants to speak in favor of an organization listed, this is a great time to do that, or to make any comment.
Clark Parmalee from Randolph Center. I want to speak about Article 17, a request from the Randolph Area Food Shelf for $15,000. It's the same amount that we asked for last year. And just to speak a little bit about the Randolph Area Food Shelf, it's a nonprofit 501c3 organization that relies entirely on volunteers. We have a 9-person board. Volunteers do everything from ordering groceries to distributing them to managing our warehouse to fundraising and other outreach events. Families are allowed to shop once a week, but they can come and pick up produce and bread every day that we're open. We're open 6 days a week for a total of 12 hours. Actually, I believe that's 14 hours a week now. Our open days vary to meet busy schedules. We're open Saturdays now. We haven't decided if that's permanent or not. We partner with Tri-Valley Transportation to offer rides to individuals needing transportation to and from the food shelf. And we also have a delivery program that delivers food to around 30 households in the area. We're asking for the $15,000 again because our shopper numbers have increased every year since 2021, more than doubling from 302 families representing 756 individuals in 2021 to 656 families representing 1,889 individuals in 2025. 2025 was our highest number of shoppers since we've been in existence since 1977. For the town of Randolph in 2025, the food shelf served 370 families or 1,018 individuals. Continued high food costs, especially things like eggs and meat, are part of why we're asking for this request. We purchase food from the Vermont Food Bank, grocery wholesalers, and discount grocery stores to help maximize our dollars. We have a SKIP, or School and Kids program, which provides breakfast and lunch meals to kids over both winter and spring vacations and during the summer break. In 2025, we served just shy of 4,000 meals to school-aged kids through SKIP. We provide shelf-stable food bags to Gifford primary care clinics for patients in need of food. Once again, we're asking for $15,000 this year, which is the same as last year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Parmalee.
Ruth Tucker. I'm here in support of Tri-Valley Transit. First of all, I'd like to thank you, our voters, for your support in years past. Our request is coming in at $15,000, just as it has been for the last 5 years. This has been a difficult year for us with the federal funds at question. We are continuing, however. In 2025, we provided 204,000 rides, many of those through our Randolph circulator. You will see it throughout town. And for volunteer drivers, like David Silloway, who's sitting here, who take folks to shopping, medical appointments, appointments out of town. So we're again coming back for 15,000, and we really appreciate your support as you have in past years. Thank you. Thank you a lot.
Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Mark Rosalbo. I'm on the board of the CVCOA, Central Vermont Council on Aging. We have historically received about $1,500 a year. And what we're asking for is an increase this year to $6,000. Our mission is to help Vermonters age with dignity. And last year, CVCOA helped 315 Randolph folks be able to live at home, be able to keep a whole plethora of services that are provided at home. And they also work with sort of making sure that the other organizations that also do home services, there's some accountability there. And the funding, one of the reasons for the increase is the average appropriation per person that is seen is $3 from the town. And what they did this year was do a little research to see what the numbers are sort of across the board with other towns, with the AAA agencies, which is the area agencies on aging, and it averages closer to $20. So if you do 315 or so and multiply that by 20, that brings you up to 6,000. So that's how we came up with that determination. So super grateful for the support, and the organization also works very closely with Claire Martin and Gifford to make sure the services are they're working, they're collaborating. So thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Kevin McGinty. I just want to talk about Article 18. I've been a longtime user of Stagecoach, now known as Tri-Valley. And I just want to say the drivers are professional, outstanding, and courteous. And I worked at Dartmouth Hitchcock for years. My wife and I live at the four-way stop right downtown here. And yeah, it's just a fantastic service, and if you can fund them again, that'd be greatly appreciated.
Thank you. All right, our last article of the day is Article 24. And this, I'm not going to read it to you, but this is just an article on the town's authority to raise revenue through taxes. That's the vaguest way possible to put it. You may discuss Article 24 if you like. And if there is no discussion about Article 24, the last bit of our warning that we have is to do any other business proper to come before this meeting.
My name is Emery Matthias. Again, the business proper here is that I have to admit a mistake. Earlier I spoke about town meeting being a state holiday. It already is. It's not a legislative issue, it's a cultural issue. It is a holiday that no one ever gets off. So for us to fix it, it will involve more than just legislation. Thank you very much for your time, and thank you all for being here.
Thank you. Everybody should bring a friend next year to town meeting. Recruit one person to come.
Just want to say thank you to all the snowplow drivers. It's been a rough winter. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for that comment. And, oh, no, yes, no. Oh, okay, okay. Okay. If there is no objection, I will adjourn the meeting, but I'm going to just make sure there's just nobody else who wants to say anything. And if there is no objection, we shall adjourn. Thank you.